Hi everybody, my name is Hannah OJ and welcome to my channel. So let's start with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills first. And I only just finished the latest episode, so I'm just gonna go straight into Sutton's reaction to the Magic Mike show that they went to. I don't think Sutton was being real about why she was truly upset about this whole Magic Mike performance. I mean, that much is clear. They literally rolled tape and showed that she was really anticipating them asking her to bring her on stage. She had ones and everything. She wore trousers, even though she doesn't usually wear trousers. She was prepared. And also, I think we have to bear in mind that Sutton is clearly going through a hard time right now. She's clearly at a place where she's feeling quite insecure. You know, she's talking about how she never gets asked out for a second date. And I actually don't like the fact that the women kind of low-key keep making fun of this. Like, I know in the conversation where they were trying to get more details out of her, they were just trying to get to the bottom of it. But at the same time, certain people, Kyle, they were just being a bit mean. Like, they kept laughing at it. And I was like, it's not funny. Like, Sutton did not share that with you because she thinks it's such a key. Like, she's clearly feeling some type of way about it. So I feel like you continuing to poke fun at it is not nice, Kyle. Especially if you're her friend. And obviously Sutton's gone to a matchmaker as well, trying to find a man. So it's clear that Sutton's in a place where, you know what, I kind of have everything I want in life. I've got money, I've got access, I've got people in my life that I love, friends. I've got a great network. But I'm lonely. I don't have a man. And I would really like one. And, you know, she didn't break up with her man too long ago, did she? I don't remember. Because I feel like when she first came on the show, she was either just at the back of a divorce or still kind of with her man, if I remember correctly. I don't think we've ever really met him like that. So I feel like she was probably just off the back of a divorce. But ultimately, it didn't end that long ago. So she's probably in a place now where it's been a while since she's been on her own, and she's lonely. So I think that she was looking forward to the Magic Mike show as a nice pick-me-up, you know? As a nice self-esteem boost for the weekend in Vegas. And she was really salty when they didn't ask her on stage. They just asked Erica and Crystal because Dorit, Garcelle and Kyle had skirts and dresses on. So they didn't ask them, or they asked them and they declined because they weren't wearing trousers. And Sutton was basically the only person left out. I can understand how that would make you feel some type of way. But she is insisting that her reaction is because she was uncomfortable. I'm sorry, Sutton. You are a grown woman and you are going to a Magic Mike show in Vegas. You knew about the movie because you asked if Channing Tatum was going to be there, so you had a background as to what Magic Mike was. So I'm not quite understanding how you were surprised when you got to the show that it was quite raunchy. Like, I understand that there's variations and levels to striptease and that type of fun. There's going to be some men that take their clothes off and some men that don't. There's going to be some men that just give a show on stage, and there's going to be some men that are going to rely on audience participation. So I don't know if she was a little bit naive as to what type of strip show she was about to get, but at the same time, it's Vegas, so one would think, at your big age especially, that you'd be prepared for them to push the boat out as much as possible. So I'm really not understanding why she had such a fit at that man fake eating Erica's pussy on stage. Like, it's not a big deal. We're all adults, like the woman said, they were all consenting. Erica looked like she was having a ball up there. So I'm not quite understanding why you have such a problem with it. And I love how Crystal, when they got in the Sprinter van at the end, how Crystal was like, does it make any difference that we weren't upset about it? And I just love the way she asked. I was Erica, the way Erica belly laughed at that. Because I love the way she posed that question. Because Crystal's absolutely right. She's been married for, what, 20 years? Dorit's been married for almost 10 years and their husbands wouldn't have had an issue with it. Kyle's going through it with her husband at the moment, but that's neither here nor there. Kyle was insistent that her husband wouldn't have a problem with the man eating whipped cream off of her. So Sutton, to quote the wise words of Cardi B, what was the reason? What was the reason for this huge overreaction? She had such a hissy fit and I did not understand it. Like, it was, even if she wanted to go with the false narrative that she was so offended and clutching her pearls, cool. But there was a way to do that. You could have just stepped away from the scene quietly and waited for them in the Sprinter van, or went to the bathroom and collected yourself quietly and went back into the room. But to be like, take my fucking mic off. I don't do this. I'm on the national board of the Royal American Ballet Society or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, girl, I really hate, I've said this before on other reviews, a pet peeve I have with all reality shows, but Real Housewives especially, because it tends to be the Real Housewives that do this a lot, where they act fake classy. Like, oh, I don't do this. Like, this is some bullshit. Like, why have you got me involved in this? This is not me. This is not how I represent myself. You are on a reality show, so cut the bullshit. Stop it. Like, anybody that's that classy wouldn't be seen dead on any reality show, because the whole purpose of a reality show is to act a fool on television for entertainment. So if you're that classy and that worried about your brand and who you are as a member in society and a member on the board of the Royal American Ballet Society, then stay your ass at home and don't mic up for anything. Like, it's that simple. That whole moment, though, just affirmed why I love Garcelle so much. I know Garcelle has been a little bit of a hit and miss where it comes to some fans. Some fans really like her, some fans are not really feeling her. I've even seen some black people say that Garcelle makes it about race all the time in past seasons, and I actually don't think that's true. I think that Garcelle acknowledges and notices stuff going on in the moment, and interestingly enough, we'll get onto something very similar in a second, but I think Garcelle made a decision that if they were gonna work hard to get a black cast member on the show after all these seasons, then fine. When this shit comes up, when you lot throw your microaggressions at me, or when ignorant racist shit comes up, I'm not going to be quiet about it. I'm going to call it out and I'm going to give an honest conversation. And I honestly feel like, regardless of whether it's a reality show or not, we need that, because we are progressing past the times that black people have to sit in their discomfort and just watch this stuff happen. Like, I don't know if anybody watching these reviews watches Big Brother, but look at Big Brother. Trish has been a huge fan favorite on the show, and even though she got evicted this weekend, I can't believe it, but we move. I can't be too surprised at that. But the reason why Trish has spurred on such a huge reaction from the audience is because she's unafraid to be vocal about the things that transpire around her and to her. Because it's pointless being quiet about it at this point, to be honest with you. If you're really not comfortable talking about it, then cool, you can kind of take Noki's route and not say anything at all, or dismiss it and act like it's something else. And I don't even judge Noki for that, because honestly, it's a very difficult position to be in. Not everybody feels the boldness to speak out on injustice, even when they're feeling it, and it is happening to you. So I feel like you have the right to react how you feel most comfortable. But ultimately, it doesn't change the narrative that's being had in the audience that's watching the show anyway. So I feel like there's nothing wrong with you as a black cast member voicing your opinion on what is happening around you and what is happening to you. So when Garcelle is experiencing these situations with these white women, I love the fact that she's unafraid to say what it really is, because we're thinking it anyway, so we might as well talk about it. Anyway, sorry, mini tangent, because I was actually talking about how much I love that Garcelle is such a good friend to Sutton, and regardless of whether or not she really agrees with what she's doing or how she's reacting, she's always going to show up as a friend and try and be her source of comfort for her and reassure her that she's there if she needs her as reassurance or comfort in this moment. Because Sutton was acting like a fool and Garcelle knew it. And she was even like not understanding at first. She was trying to get to the bottom of what this all was for. But ultimately, she still was like, okay, let's just get in the Sprinter van, and like, you know, like still defending her to Kyle when Kyle was trying to poke holes. Because Kyle is not a good friend to Sutton. I don't think Kyle is a good friend, period. I think Kyle is way too self-involved and self-obsessed to be a really good friend to anybody. But I think Kyle is very ill-equipped where it comes to being a shoulder to cry on. I don't think she knows how to do it. So when it comes to people like Sutton, who are very melodramatic in their reactions and their emotions, Kyle kind of can't help but laugh at her. And if there's one thing that will trigger anybody while they're upset, is people laughing at them while they're upset or dismissing their emotion. It doesn't really matter whether you understand it or not. You don't have to intentionally make things worse, you know? And I feel like Kyle does that, because she kept saying, I think it's because they didn't ask her on stage. I think it's because of the pants. And it's like, sis, we get it. Like, everybody knows that it's because they didn't ask her on stage. That much is clear. She could have done enough to point us in that direction and then just left it alone. But then when Sutton started to lash back and she started acting like, oh, don't be a bitch to me now. You were being a bitch first, so... And I think Garcelle did a good job of diffusing the situation because she was maintaining balance within Sutton the whole time. And I really like that Garcelle was that type of friend. So, on to what I was alluding to earlier. Garcelle not feeling comfortable discussing her sons with the women. I think that's fair enough. She's referring to the moment where Erica disrespected her son at her party. She told Jax to fuck off. And I believe Jax is her youngest son. So I think he was like 14 or 15 at the time. So obviously you know, an adult yelling profanities at a child, big no-no, even if you are drunk. But I do believe that Erica was truly sorry for that, 'cause she was off her face. So I think she was able to squash that with Erica more easily. But then when she looked back at the season and saw Kyle and Dorit taking the situation to their husbands and laughing about it, it was just like, it might have felt like a light moment to them, but it's not their son, so of course they will feel like it's not a big deal to them. But Garcelle, like being Mama Bear, of course you're going to feel overprotective of your child. And at the end of the day, that situation was something that everybody should have blatantly seen that it was wrong. So why are you like laughing and poking fun at it? And it's just not nice. Like, he's a teenager at the end of the day. Just don't speak on it at all if you don't have anything mature and reasonable to say on the situation. So I think it's fair enough now that Garcelle doesn't feel safe talking about her sons with them, because I don't know if your feelings are genuine when we're discussing them, because at the end of the day, Dorit was the one acting like she was so horrified and shocked by what Erica said, but then was laughing and kikiing about it with her husband. So yeah, if I'm Garcelle, I don't really know whether or not this is real or fake. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's not that deep. I don't need to discuss my children with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's okay. We don't have to have that type of relationship. If I don't feel like when I'm talking to people, I'm getting real support, especially when it comes to my children, I'm gonna put up a way stronger guard where it comes to my children than anything else. A whole lot of other things to do with me can be, you know, on the table. Whereas my children and their sobriety and, you know, their mental health, like, these are very sensitive topics. I think that that's completely fair enough. And to be honest, this is one of those scenarios that even if you don't really see it from Garcelle's point of view, it really doesn't even matter. You just have to respect it. And that's why I loved Erica's reaction, and even Kyle's reaction, because you can tell Kyle was a little bit offended, because that's what Kyle does. Kyle is not unlike Dorit in that sense. Whenever you're telling her how you honestly feel about something, she centers herself and makes it about her, which is what she did with the whole debacle that came up a couple seasons ago when Garcelle told her about how she was triggered about calling her out at the reunion for not paying the charity thing. And then when Garcelle sat down and broke it down for Kyle and explained it to her that it stems from a microaggression, which is why she got triggered, Kyle then understood. I don't know if she really understood. I think Kyle just has the wherewithal to not act like a Karen on camera. I think she's aware enough about what's going on now that she can't act like how Dorit does. So she doesn't. So whether or not that's authentic, I don't know. But I think that Kyle was at least aware enough to just let Garcelle explain herself in this moment and let it be what it is. Because at the end of the day, that's how she feels. How can you argue with how somebody feels, you know? And I loved Erica's reaction. You could tell that Erica was like, 'cause Erica was including this too. And you could tell that she was just like, you know what, we just have to give people time. And that's what Sutton was trying to explain. And I love how Garcelle and Sutton have that equal relationship with each other, that when one of them, it looks like they're about to be outnumbered, they will speak up for the other. And I love that, because a lot of people, when they see their friend in hot water or in the hot seat, they just sit there mute. And I don't like that. I feel like if you're really my friend and you see that I'm in a situation where I'm having to work hard to explain myself when I shouldn't, then it's your job to kind of tap in. And you don't have to be confrontational, but just help, just explain my perspective to them, because I know that you as my friend get it. So maybe us both explaining it will make them back off, which it did. And I liked Erica's reaction to it. And Kyle, I think, was a bit like, oh, really? After all this time? But cool. But Dorit, I cannot stand Dorit sometimes. I really go back and forth over whether or not I like Dorit, because I really liked her in the beginning. I really started to dislike her the season where she called Garcelle a bully. That triggered me so much, because Garcelle was sitting there. And this is why I'm saying that I don't think Garcelle should dismiss these moments and not call them out for what they are, because they can be very dangerous and they can be weaponized, and I don't think it's cool. So if we're really progressing past these times, we need to really progress, you know? So from that point, I really started to dislike Dorit, especially when she was explaining herself. She was talking about how she had servants in her house that were people of color, so she's not racist. It was just like, okay, yeah, bitch, no. Like, I can't get with you. I cannot get with you. And I can't say that since then I've warmed back up to her per se, but I think it does help that I am interested in her life. I don't feel like she's ever given me a season where I'm not interested in what she's bringing us. So I think that helps. But her as a person, I just don't know if I could all the way get with her, because there's more things I dislike about her than like. So ultimately it's like, nah. So when we're now back in this moment where she can't just accept what Garcelle is saying and just give her the space to feel however she feels and understand that even if she doesn't like it, she's completely censoring herself, and I don't like that. Like, she's a Karen to her core, because why is this about you? This is about Garcelle and her feelings, and you're making it about the fact that you are offended that she doesn't want to talk to you about her children. It's not by force, and it's for a reason. And you can tell by the things that she was saying. She's not even really concerned about Garcelle feeling this way. She doesn't feel bad that Garcelle feels bad, if that makes sense. She's upset that Garcelle is making her look bad on camera, because at one point it turned to, you're basically calling me a bad mother, or you're saying you're not comfortable having me around your children, something like that. Like, she was completely misunderstanding what Garcelle was even saying. So it's like, so you're just obsessed with how this makes you look, basically. So I really didn't appreciate Dorit's reaction. I didn't appreciate her making it about her, and I felt upset for Garcelle that it just ended up with her storming out and just kind of being in tears and just dismissing herself from the conversation, because it's like, how many times am I going to sit with these group of white women and explain my emotions and then be villainized for my emotions, and then they become the victim? Like, how often are we going to do this? It's so fucking boring. And this is why I keep saying these conversations need to occur. It might not necessarily change anything in their world, but the fact that it's being displayed on TV will hopefully employ a little bit of understanding within the minds of people that watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills who don't already understand the nuance of these conversations. I'm all here for it, and I love me some Garcelle. Also, I've been reviewing The Other Black Girl, where Garcelle plays a villain, so an actual villain. So it's really nice and refreshing to see her in her natural and positive element again. I don't really have that much else to say about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills at this moment. We're only a few episodes in. What I will say, which I'm very shocked by, I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but Erica is a whole vibe. Really enjoying her so far this season. To be fair to her, even though still side-eyeing her, I think she's had a good couple of difficult seasons where the magnifying glass has been on her pretty much permanently throughout, and nearly every time she was on camera, it didn't display her in a positive light. So I think she made a decision this season that I'm just gonna have fun. Like, fuck all the angst and the drama. I know that's kind of what we're here for, but it is actually nice to see the women getting along and having fun. Those moments can be really entertaining too, because it doesn't always need to be down. It can be up. We can celebrate the ups and the highs as well. And I feel like that episode where they're in Vegas really reminded me of that. Sometimes we can just vibe, you know? And I love how Erica has just kind of deflected nearly every opportunity for drama and beef and has just kept it up here. And I actually believe her that she gave up fighting with them for Lent, because it shows. I do think it's funny how hard she has to work to learn empathy as a grown woman, but hey, let me pray for her child. I wish her all the best, and I hope that it's a successful journey, because we all need to be empathetic in this world. If we all were, you know the rest, much better place. But hey, one last thing. I may be the only Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fan that does not give a rat's ass about Kyle or anything that she's showing me. And it's not just because I don't like Kyle, because I actually appreciated all her story arcs with her sisters, whether that be Kathy or Kim, because I feel like those moments were the only ones where we were getting the true, authentic Kyle, not the overly produced version of herself that she keeps showing us, because I feel like Kyle as a Real Housewife is one of the most aware of the cameras, and it shows nearly every time she's on screen, and it gets to the point where it's just frustrating, because at this point you're just acting. Like, who are you really? Do you know what I mean? I remember the time they were in Amsterdam and she was acting like she'd never smoked weed before, and she was so weird and uncomfortable around weed, and Brandy was literally like, I have smoked a spliff with you. Like, what are you doing? I can't stand that bullshit. You are a grown woman. Stop acting like you never smoked any weed. It's not a big deal. Like, why are you giving us this weird, polished, overproduced version of yourself? Just stop. Like, it's annoying. And like I said, that's why I was here for all her story arcs with her sisters, because I feel like in those moments she was unable to give us anything but the real version of herself, because of the complexity of the issues that they had amongst each other. Like, you're just going to, some things are going to trigger a real reaction out of you, and I think that's why Bravo was so insistent on always getting Kim on the show, even though she wasn't in a healthy place and had no business being on camera. And same with Kathy. As far as we know, Kathy Hilton is not in the same place as Kim, where she's fighting an addiction, but Kathy Hilton is somebody that I think she has other issues, and I don't know if being in front of the camera is necessarily the best place for her, but they capitalized off of it because it was real. So those are the only parts of Kyle that as a viewer I'm here for. Anything else, she's written a script and I'm not really interested because she's not the best writer. So it's not even entertaining. So where it comes to her and Mo, I believe that there's issues, but it's hard for me to believe whether she's over dramatizing it or just making it seem like it's way bigger than it really is or not. And ultimately, once I'm done going back and forth over whether or not that's the case, I don't really care by the end of it. So that's where I'm at with Kyle. I do think it's cool that she's not drinking though. I've actually recently stopped drinking so much. I haven't drank alcohol in 3 weeks, and I know that sounds like such a small sliver of time to most people, but for me that's a big deal. Coming from somebody who, especially from the pandemic, it started to become an everyday thing, and it honestly for a while just didn't really stop, or every other day at best. Then I was able to kind of progress to every week and every weekend, but I still felt like I was drinking too much at the weekends and normalizing drinking like every day at the weekend, or you know, when you go out as well, just overdoing it. So I really decided to cut back and really be intentional with how much I drink alcohol. I essentially only want to drink when I'm genuinely winding down, not just, hey, there's wine there, let me drink it, you know? And since then, I found myself not buying alcohol as much because apparently those moments don't come about so much because I'm always busy. So, which is really great. So when I'm looking at Kyle and her journey of not drinking as much alcohol, I think it's really cool. I'm like, yeah, this is how I could be in 7 months, because she does seem much lighter and more zen. And also how it shows you how different you are as a person when you don't drink as well. The fact that she's in Vegas with her girls and she wakes up first thing in the morning to go to the gym. That's what not drinking does to you. It really makes you do the most healthy shit, just unprovoked. Crazy. Like, you'll prioritize and enjoy going to the gym or getting up early and doing meditation and saying your affirmations and praying and shit. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, so I like that. But apart from that, myth, whatever, where it comes to Kyle. And those are my thoughts on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills so far. I'm enjoying it. I think this season is going to be good.